word of warning. This is likely to be a long video. And the reason I say that is because I'm going to be reading an excerpt here from none other than the fairy tale Cinderella. This is going to show you, because I'm using a few different, I'm using a couple different decks, as you know. We always start with the Viking Oracle. We actually start with the Viking Oracle, we end on it. I'm also using Colette Baron Reid's The Spirit Animal Oracle, which is awesome. One of my favorite decks, Tarot of the Divine, which takes from fairy tales and deities from all over the world. And of course, Colette Baron Reid's The Enchanted map. Just as we start and end nearly every reading with the Viking Oracle, we have begun and are ending this week with half of the decks being Colette Baron Reid decks. But I wanted the Enchanted map, and I wanted Tarot of the Divine, because I think some of us are going to engage in a little fantasy this weekend. And there's nothing wrong with that. We'll watch movies, we'll read books, we'll, hang out with our kids, we'll do all kinds of things. We'll engage in a little escapism through video games, music, movies, TV, so on and so forth. But I wanted to read this part, because this is what Disney won't tell you. And this is from the original story, from the Brothers Grimm, Cinderella. So, I'm going to start with the festival. And when she went to the festival in the dress, no one knew how to speak for astonishment. The king's son danced with her only, and if anyone invited her to dance, he said, "She is my partner." When evening came, Cinderella wished to leave, and the king's son was anxious to go with her, but she escaped from him so quickly that he could not follow her. The king's son, however, had used a stratagem, and had caused the whole staircase to be smeared with pitch, and there, when she ran down, had the maiden's left slipper remained sticking. The king's son picked it up, and it was small and dainty, and all golden. The next morning, he went with it to the father, and said to him, "No one shall be my wife but she whose foot fit this golden slipper." So it was a golden slipper, not a glass slipper. Then were the two sisters glad, for they had pretty feet. The eldest went with the shoe into her room and wanted to try it on, and the mother stood by, but she could not get her big toe into it. The shoe was too small for her. Then her mother gave her a knife and said, "Cut the toe off. When you are queen, you will have no more need to go on foot." The maiden cut the toe off and forced the foot into the shoe, swallowed the pain, and went out to the king's son. There he took her on his horse as his bride and rode away with her. They were, however, obliged to pass the grave, and there on the hazel tree sat the two pigeons that cried, turn and peep, there's blood within the shoe. The shoe was too small for her. The true bride waits for you." Then he looked at her foot and saw how the blood was streaming from it. He turned his horse around, and took the false bride home again, and said she was not the true one, and the other sister was to put the shoe on. Then this one went into her chamber and got her toe safely into the shoe, but her heel was too large. So her mother gave her a knife and said, "Cut a bit off your heel. When you are queen, you will have no more need to go on foot." The maiden cut a bit of her heel off and forced her foot into the shoe, swallowed the pain, and went out to the king's son. He took her on his horse as his bride and rode away with her. But when they passed by the hazel tree, the two little pigeons sat on and cried, turn and peep, there's blood within the shoe. The shoe was too small for her. The true bride waits for you." He looked down at her foot and saw blood was running out of the shoe, and how it had stained her white stocking. Then he turned his horse and took the false bride home again. "This is also not the right one," he said. "Have you no other daughter?" "No," said the man. "There is still a little stunted kitchen wench, which my late wife left behind her, but she cannot possibly be the bride." The king's son said he was to send her up to him, but the mother answered, "Oh no, she's much too dirty. She cannot show herself." He absolutely insisted on it, and Cinderella had to be called. She first washed her hands and face clean. Then she went and bowed before the king's son, who gave her the golden shoe. Then she seated herself on a stool, drew her foot out of the heavy wooden shoe, and put it into the slipper, which fit like a glove. And when she rose up, the king's son looked at her face and recognized the beautiful maiden who had danced with him, and cried, "This is the true bride." The stepmother and two sisters were terrified and became pale with rage. He, however, took Cinderella on his horse and rode away with her. As they passed by the hazel tree, the two white doves cried, turn and peep, there's blood within the shoe. The shoe, it is too small for her. The true bride waits for you." And when they cried that, the two came flying down and placed themselves on Cinderella's shoulder, one on the right, one on the left, and remained sitting there. When the wedding with the king's son had to be celebrated, the two false sisters came and wanted to get into favor with Cinderella, share her good fortune. When the betrothed couple went to church, the elder was at the right side and the younger at the left, and the pigeons pecked out one eye of each of them. Afterward they came back. The elder was at the left, the younger was at the right, and the pigeons pecked out the other eye of each. And thus for their wickedness and falsehood they were punished with blindness as long as they lived. Disney didn't bother to tell you that one, did they? And that was in this book, which is one of my favorites, which this deck rekindled my absolute love for fairy tales. So a happy ending for Cinderella, but not so much for the sisters. Sometimes these fairy tales have very tragic endings. So when you want a fairy tale ending, remember, some of those fairy tales did not end so well. You may be thinking Disney, the universe may be thinking the original. Starting to understand? Okay. We have had a very, very strange, long week. And quite frankly, we've seen a lot of chaos going on. But I don't think we'll be concerning ourselves with that. At least not this weekend. We've got that full moon in Aries going on. A lot of creative fire. A lot of creative energy. It's definitely a wands kind of a weekend. So rather than using the weekend for escape, I'd be willing to bet that the message is going to be that of create. Remember, there were plenty of people who created these fairy tales long, long ago, and they still live on in some element today. Perhaps sitting down and reading with your children, or I don't know, getting a little of that childlike innocence out this weekend would be a good thing to have. And if you did something a little childish this weekend, something that got you a little giddy, maybe you're looking forward to something like that, this is a good weekend for it. We all need to recharge, ladies and gentlemen. And I'd be willing to bet my entire stash of Digibyte we're going to see at least something like that. We don't always have to take ourselves so seriously, do we? If you know me outside these videos, you know I don't. And that's why I picked this Enchanted Map Oracle, because it will show us the little signposts and people we'll meet along the way. And that's never a bad thing. We should be having a little fun occasionally. I don't think that this is going to be any exception. Here we go, and the runes. Hopefully this time I didn't stick a guide card in there. I've done that once and I just rolled with it. I didn't bother editing that out. Look on the bright side. No landscaping outside. Bub isn't going crazy even though he's awake. You can see him right over there, I think. Hey Bub, what you doing? And of course, this morning we've got our tea, don't we? I hope so. Alright, let's get down into it. So who are you going to be more like this weekend? Right here into the Well of Weird. Haven't we all, we've seen this before. And what does it always tell you? It'll tell you that magic is very, very real. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to start throwing sparkles out of your hands or anything like that. It all has to do with intention. And what is something like prayer if it's not magic? You state an intention. You ask for things. And then, sometimes it's provided. If it's not, something better comes along. It's a very, very simple concept. But what if you were able to put more of you into it? What if you were able to seek an answer? Or learn to do something. Learn to manipulate your own reality. See, it's a very real force in the universe. You are a very real force in your own life. And it's important to go back to that well occasionally, whatever that looks like to you. So, how are we being guided? By none other than Suna herself. Suna pulls the sun in her chariot. And we really don't get, I know it says Sol, but that is unmistakably Suna, the goddess of the sun. We don't really get to see her much in here. We get to see the sun every day. We get to see what she pulls, but we don't get to see her. We get to see her brother Mani quite a bit, though. And he's usually very, very blunt. He is, don't have time to explain, kid, get in the frickin' chariot. That kind of thing. And he usually doesn't have time. But here is what she is telling you. She is telling you that your sense of personal power will increase. Be positive. Surround yourself with positive people. Don't procrastinate. So whatever it is you've been meaning to get to this weekend is the time to do it. You understand? Whatever you've meant to learn, whatever you've meant to do with the kids. For some reason, in these cards, that vibe I'm getting so far, it's time to do something with the kids. I don't care how old your kids are. You got kids in their 20s and 30s, you might want to consider doing something with them this weekend. Get into that nostalgia mode. Have dinner. Talk about old stories. You never know what's going to come of it. Now, who is our spirit animal this weekend? Ooh, nice. A chameleon spirit. We're going to act as if. And you know what? I'm not going to look that one up. Because I really, really think that our situation so far, the tone that has been set, you do need to act as if Well, let's find out. So for the mind, this weekend we've got the world, ladies and gentlemen, starting out already thinking big picture. We have a 9 of coins. We have that prosperity in mind. Not really security, but security does come along with that, doesn't it? We also have the Hangman. So we're letting go of some preconceived beliefs. This is something to celebrate. We're looking at things in a much larger picture and saying, you know what? This does not make sense. This needs to go. This is basically us aligning our lives, which is great. Throwing out the mental clutter, making way for some newer ideas, some fresher perspectives. Always a wonderful thing. For the body, we have a 6 of Cups. This is some generosity. You know, that 6 comes after that 5 of Cups. That 5 of Cups is usually loss. I'm not seeing it here yet, but anytime the 6 of Cups comes up, it looks like that we've kind of learned something. And with this one looks like we've healed from loss. We're coming back. Those old wounds have been washed away. They're healed and we're better for it. Right here we have an 8 of coins. Even though she does not look happy, I know one thing about the 8 of coins. The 8 of coins is all of our hard work. We work very hard, very diligently. And of course, a 10 of Cups. Ten of Cups, that is some serious emotional gain. A lot of good emotions. And emotionally we're becoming very generous. We're working on ourselves. We're trying to understand where our emotions come from and why we have them. We're trying to make the best of them. And for the spirit, a 2 of coins. So this stems from an earthly choice. This is from a physical choice right in front of you. We also have a 6 of swords. This is kind of like a bit of a journey here, right? Let's see. That 6 of swords is kind of a 6 of swords. There we go. Now this, if we look at it, this is always really want to go to the source on the 6 of swords for various decks because they're all a little different. But if you notice this one, this is Perseus as a child with his mother. The one thing about this journey with the 6 of swords is that it is absolutely us leaving tumultuous waters for something else. Something a little calmer, a little brighter. And then we have a 3 of wands. So this looks like we're collaborating here. Collaborating on a little something creative. The choice to, you know, move on. It's never easy, especially in the spiritual sense. In a spiritual sense, you need to move You need to move on to something that will foster your own creative ability. Listen, creation, that is a gift. I don't care what it is. If you can write a poem, if you can draw something, if you can paint something, or just generally create something, if you can build something out of popsicle sticks with the kids, believe it or not, something like that, these little creative endeavors are going to light you up bigger than life and twice as beautiful. Take my word for that. Do that this weekend. If you don't have children, try something like going out into the wild. It's already coming into fall. You are bound to find some fallen, dead twigs or branches. Take a pocket knife, some beeswax, and create yourself your own little magic wand. Does it sound cheesy? Yeah, absolutely. But what these little things do is they direct your energy. You can do the same thing with your finger if you like. But even then, I mean, you've seen me use them here. I use them to cast protective barriers. I use them to activate the stones. And this is stone itself, selenite. This is one of my favorites, by the way. I also pack a smaller one in my tarot kit that I pack everywhere with me. You can make one out of a stick and dry it. You know, it takes about, what, a couple, 2-3 weeks. You know, put some beeswax on it to seal it. Maybe dip it in tea and stain it. Personalize it. Make it your own. If you don't want to make a magic wand, that's fine. Just create something. Make a necklace. Have you ever done it before? Run down to your local hobby shop, Hobby Lobby or Joann Fabrics or something like that. You know, see what kind of beads strike you. Get some cord. Get yourself together and, you know, put something together. See what you can make. Make something. Create something. Create a new dish. Hey, let me tell you something. Some of the best magic happens in the kitchen, ladies and gentlemen. I know, I love to cook. Anyway, let's get to the enchanted map, shall we? So, starting with the mind, we have, here we go, Heal the Ouch. I don't think this needs much explaining. Have you suffered that little mental trauma somewhere? You know, that reminds me of something Jim Quick said in his book Limitless, which I do highly recommend every one of you read. And it went a little something like this. So, a large bridge, like the Brooklyn Bridge or the Golden Gate Bridge, is crumbling. There are people that are stuck on that bridge and they're panicking. The superhero comes in to save the day. The superhero knows that they're the only ones that can get this thing done. So, being the only one who can get it done, she puts on the suit, or she suits up, she goes in, and on the way there she's reminded of someone, a best friend who ridiculed her for delusions of grandeur. She's reminded of a father who told her she needed to get real. She's reminded of friends in kindergarten who used to pick on her. And then she gets to the bridge and she sits on the shore, puts her head in her hands, and the entire thing crumbles and so many people die. When was the last time you saw that scene in a superhero comic or movie? Never. And do you know why you've never seen that? You've never seen it because it's not ever going to happen. All of those little things that the superhero felt along the way were there because they're past traumas. Those happenances, we fail to heal those. We fail to, what we do is we take those experiences and we use them to limit us, and we call ourselves victims. Well, ladies and gentlemen, those of you joining me today, that is not you. As a matter of fact, you're here to unlimit yourself. Is this something you've always wanted to do? Then do it. Just because I'm doing it here doesn't mean you can't. You can do this. I'm reminded of Habamal 71. And if you'll indulge me for just a moment, I'll open it up and tell you exactly what it says. I may actually already have it open. I don't know. There we go. And here we go. A limping man can ride a horse. A handless man can herd. A deaf man can fight and win. It is better even to be blind than fuel for the funeral pyre. What can a dead man do? Very simple, people. Heal that ouch. Turn to someone else if you need it. It's very, very important, because these old past traumas, if you do not resolve them today, all of that's pointing right here at the hangman. Let it go. I know that sounds much easier said than done, but believe one thing, when you let it go, it can't harm you anymore. You turn from victim to victor. Believe one thing, not doing this will derail all the rest. Let's see what's happening in the body. Listening. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to your body. Your body tells you everything. Your body tells you what's wrong. Your body tells you what's right. Sometimes your body tells you what it's in the process of fixing while you're doing the thing that makes it better. Whatever you can do, just do it. But always listen. And finally, here we go. This one holds a very special place with me right now because I just finished Rebecca Campbell's book, Letters to a Starseed. It says, Ride the Wave. Look at these dolphins. Do they not look happy? In Rebecca Campbell's book, she talks about trusting, ride your wave. Don't try to take one that's too big. Don't settle for one that's too small. Ride your wave. Trust that timing. And with it popping up right here in that spiritual sense, I can definitely tell you your wave is coming in this weekend. Now, let's go to the runes. We've got Isa. In this case, I don't see Isa as an obstacle. I see it as it's telling you to slow down. Slow your mind just a little bit. Meditation. I don't care if you're dancing with your kids. I don't care if you're dancing with family members. I don't care if you're dancing with a friend or Husbands grabbing your wives and just cutting a rug right there in the living room. Wives, grab your husbands, cut a rug in the living room. If you have a significant other, grab your significant other and start cutting a rug right there. Don't think about it. Just do it. Nice and slow, even timing. And take this from a guy who has 6 left feet and no rhythm and can't dance. I'm serious. Cannot do it. I absolutely suck at it. Alright, so it's one of those things I don't mind. Hey, you don't have a significant other, crank up Generation X and start listening to some Billy Idol, do some dancing with yourself, man. It's all good. Here we go. For the body. Perthro. You've been here before. Roll the dice. Take a chance. Try to make your risks calculated. Okay? Don't throw too much caution to the wind. It never works out. Finally, communication. Communication with your spirit is everything right now. Listen to your body, communicate with your spirit, meditate, and calm the mind. Whatever you have to do to make that happened. And in the context of all this, you need to be acting as if you are one of the most powerful beings in the known universe, because you are. You have your own special, unique creativity to bring to the table. You have your own magic. You are your own force. So make it happen. Whatever you have to do. This can be a slow process. For some, it's going to be quicker than others. Don't worry about that. You are not in competition. As this Three of Wands clearly illustrates, you are in collaboration. This weekend looks to be a beautiful weekend. A weekend where we're looking at a much larger picture than ourselves. Dance about life. Dance your dance. Sing your song. Write your lyric. Craft your wand, or whatever thing it may be. Make it a challenge. Go out with a group of friends. Do it with them. Inspire someone else's creativity too. So I hope that you found this to be a good reading. I hope you look at this as a very beautiful weekend, because, hey, most of these cards are good things, but we have some, we have a little healing to do. We have a little meditation to do. We have to get out of our own way, don't we? Because when you finally wake up that little spark of creativity, that little spark of the creator within yourself, you'll be unstoppable. You will be limitless. I thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for having your cup of tea with me. I really enjoy sharing our time together. In any case, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I will see you on Monday morning. Use this weekend to make your light just that much brighter. And as I'm always telling you, shine on. us. And what happens? Oh, hello. I was just about to clean up, but I found a part of Letters to a Starseed that I thought you might find interesting. I'm glad you came back to join me for this. It's really, it's always fun to have you. But there is a chapter called The Intelligence of the Universe Lies Within You. This particular passage in the book really speaks to that Well of Weird card, where it says magic is a force in the universe, and you are a force in your own life. I wanted to read this to you because I think it's pretty special. And it's full of very empowering thought. And it says this: there's a mysterious force that governs all of life. Let's just call it magic. An intelligence that tells flowers when to bloom and the tides and seasons when to come and go. That intelligence is seated within you too. It was there before you drew your first breath, and it'll be there well beyond your last. It is the part of you that informed every cell what to do when you were in your mother's womb, and it's waiting to be activated within each and every cell now too. It's harder to resist this intelligent force than it is to surrender to it. It's within every flower and every tree. It tells the rose when to drop its petals and the passion flower when to transform into fruit. In this day and age, we've forgotten that this intelligence exists within us. After burying the goddess, we went so far into the masculine, focusing on the glory of the logical mind over the magic of the mystery. If we're to transition through this old age and into the new, we must first find our way back to the mystery that's seated within it all. We're separate in body, but part of the same earth. Earth is separate in planet, but part of the same ever-expanding universe. So often we become disconnected from remembering the mysterious intelligence, forgetting that the pulse of life runs through each and every one of us. For we are life incarnate for just a moment. We can feel isolated, and as if we need to figure things out for ourselves, to rely on our individual strength. When we do this, we cut ourselves off from life itself. Things get out of harmony within us and around us. You're being called to remember the intelligence that's within each and every one of your cells, to remember that you're a precious child of a loving, ever-changing universe, that you have access to the intelligence, to all the wisdom, the strength, the flow, the qualities there ever were, are, or will be. And to remember that if the flowers know exactly when and how to bloom, then you do too. And the inquiry is, how can you surrender more deeply to the intelligent flow of life, and what is ready to bloom within you? We had that card that came up yesterday, which was the rose. That rose that was in full bloom. And not only does that particular chapter speak to that card, it also speaks to this one. It's kind of a nice thought, isn't it? You have that intelligence. It's buried with you on a cellular level. If all that sounds like a source of woo to you, then I have this to offer. Haven't you seen enough? If you haven't, then you've been missing something. and it's time for you to look with a new set of eyes. The thing about the chameleon is it always blends no matter where it goes. It always acts as if it's part of the scenery. It's kind of a defense mechanism. In our case, we're not being called to do that. We're being called to act as if we're good enough. We're being called to act as if we've got this, because we do. What Rebecca had to say in that chapter is very important and very powerful. Not words to be taken lightly. Still thinking about it? You should. Because those are good thoughts. It's a good thing to remain positive, even at the worst of times, and let's face it, we are at some of the worst of times. It's a good thing to encourage others to remain positive. It's a good thing to encourage people to not panic. Believe one thing, ladies and gentlemen, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, absolutely has your back. Some prayers, like I said, they're not answered. Sometimes the best answer to some prayers is no, because something better is coming. And let me ask you, let me just put something in front of you. Words of wisdom from none other than one of the biggest shock rockers that I ever listened to growing up, Marilyn Manson. And I had to think long and hard about these words, because at first I didn't understand them. Now I get it. But the wording, the verbiage that appeared in that CD on a couple of occasions was, when all of your wishes are granted, many of your dreams will be destroyed. Marilyn Manson, the self-proclaimed bad guy, imparted those little words of wisdom. And you know what? The more I do something like this every day, the more I'm glad I had the right people to encourage me. I had the right books in front of me. And I had the right support system. You. Oh, I still get people that absolutely despise the fact I do this, but I just throw them a picture of a couple packs of tissues and leave it at that. Like I said, for those 2 free packs of tissues, I'm absolutely giving them away. You have to really kind of stop and think about that. Why would someone oppose me doing this? And the answer is very simple. If you reclaim your power, you rob those people of theirs. And it's true. When you reclaim your power, or you begin the process of it, because in some cases it's a process, then suddenly someone else cannot micromanage and control you, which is what most people want to do. like I said, I've said it before, I'll say it again. You are a truly unique and very powerful individual. And if you don't believe me, all you have to do is ask, why do these two polar extremes want me so badly? Well, if I'm just little old me and nothing special, if I just do this little thing and I'm nothing without them, why are they so insistent on having me around? When they start calling you things like that, well, you're nothing without us. Well, then you don't need me. Asta. Have a good one. Split. Don't give them another thought. Get it yet? I hope you find that this weekend. I hope that gets into your mind and just gels. Guess what? You are still a very unique and powerful individual, capable of so much more. Capable of more than what you were capable of yesterday. And you will be more capable tomorrow than you were today. Only if you keep working at it. And guess what? That's with or without me around. Alright, I gotta get out of here. I love you guys. Take care. Take care of yourselves and each other. Always do what lights you up. This is Raven Wolfgar saying, shine on.